Good weather today. It's hot.
Yeah, it's really good weather.
Could be worse.
It could be a lot worse.
Has been worse. Has been worse. That's why I always volunteer for the morning shift.
Yeah. I'm the 2 to 4 shift.
That's rough.
Anyway, so. All right, well, let's dive into the next round of things. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Seth.
All right, and so as we sort of proceed to the afternoon, I'm going to try to cover a lot of stuff. You know, when you guys signed up for things, it's like, oh, what, you can select stuff. To cover all of that in one session is sort of, this just dump truck load of information. And so we've got a few more topics we're going to kind of go through, and I'm going to try to provide you with some skills and tips and things like that hopefully you can find useful, that you can kind of easily take and be like, hi organization, here's some tips and ideas. Let's put some of these things in practice. So that's really what we're going to try to do and cover here today. And if there's anything along the way that you're kind of like, I have a question or that doesn't make sense, feel free to interject. We have a couple of times where you'll get the chance to work on some things, and I want you to sort of think and make notes, especially if you talk about goal setting, for example. So you kind of start thinking about your group. There might be some goals you might scribble down on a piece of paper or take back to the organization. So anyways, so we're talking about leadership skills. When it comes down to it, don't be a tool, all right? You can't do what you've got to do with just one tool, all right? You need to really have a toolbox of information and resources and things that you've got. So your toolbox, we're talking about your toolbox. What are all those things you've got in that toolbox? And so what are those skills and those tips and those techniques? You can't, a nail without a hammer doesn't do much good, and sometimes vice versa. So we've got to make sure that we are utilizing all those tools and resources and making sure that you've got things. The stuff that Carrie talked about, a great way to sort of develop that toolbox. The things that we're doing here today, great way to sort of develop that toolbox. There's things that you know and understand and can work with. So on to what we've got. So some things that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about event planning, marketing, a little bit of goal setting, some running an effective meeting tips, motivation and delegation, collaboration network. We're going to talk about. I feel like we sort of talked about that at the beginning a little bit, so we may not really delve into that a whole lot now. Office of transition, we will talk about, and sort of I want you to ask any questions you have. But I think the most important thing with office of transition is make sure it happens. Do it. That's about the easy. That one-time sit-down conversation can resolve a lot. So if you're on your way out, make sure you have that conversation with the person coming out, and vice versa. So the number one thing about office of transition is just do it. That's all you get. Don't make it pretty, just do it. Make sure it happens. So let's talk about event planning. So I'm going to focus a lot here on university center things. I'm sorry I might drone into some policies and procedures just to make sure that you got it, because of things that might become roadblocks along the way. So I'm telling you about them now. So we're talking about event planning 101 with the university center. We talked about these 5 steps. These 5 steps really get us to that event planning within the university center. We kind of end up with the confirmation, your space is reserved, now what? So we talked about advertising with MavWorks, also still very important, and that's something that we talked about the flyer board and the bulletin board. I feel we are confident in what that means. So the university center and the scope of the UC, which is where most of our events and activities will take place. How many of you as an organization or group have done an event or activity in the university center? A meeting? Everybody? Somewhere along the way? Okay, good. So it's something we all can relate with. Some things to keep in mind. There are no cookie cutter events. Just to say that you're doing a meeting, or just to say you're doing a party or a banquet, doesn't really do a lot for the university center. That doesn't mean that they can just pull out the cookie cutter and stamp it. And for you, from what they did somebody else yesterday, it means it's going to work. So there's no real cookie cutter. They have over 21 rooms in the building that can be used for things, and so it's important to understand